shaders. So the way I want to do this is I am going to grab, this is my door. So I'm going to have this, so I'm going to grab this output. So this output right here, you can grab this and drag this to diffuse color. So I also need to click on that shader and then turn on show shaded material in viewport. If you don't turn that on, you will never see your shaders in your viewport. And then I'm going to do the same thing for stairs, and then click on my shader and then tell it to be shown. You can tell whether it's shown or not because it'll have this little slash over it. And then my background, let's just grab, and it doesn't matter what particular order you do this in. I'm just kind of doing them as I come to them. It's not a particular, way you have to do these guys. And then my capsule. Do that diffuse. Click on this and boom. So and make sure I turn this one on in viewport too. So what I want to do now is I want to connect these shaders to my actual model. So I'm just going to select the output node right here. So this is my little output node, and just drag this to my model, and you'll see, look, everything maps onto my model the way it's supposed to. And I'm going to do the same thing for the door. So the door right here, and I'm going to grab this and drag it to my door, and boom, everything maps onto it. And my background, let's grab my output node, and then boom, background's mapped. And then stairs, do that once more, and then boom, my stairs are mapped. Now the one thing about my stairs is I don't have an alpha. There's no alpha channel actually running on this, so my stairs are not see-through, but I can fix that. So actually back in here, so back inside of Photoshop, let's go in here for a second and look at my stairs. So I'm going to go in here and just turn my stairs on. So if I look, I do have an alpha channel for my stairs. If I turn this off, I can see I have an alpha channel for my stairs. But this alpha channel is actually backwards. I want the stairs to be cut out here, but not be cut out where the actual stairs exist. So I'm just going to drag a duplicate copy of this. And what I want to do, I'm just going to come here and say image. Let's see if this will actually work. And I just want to do an invert on this. And it does. So I've got an inverse of that, so everything else is showing up. And this is knocked out now. So I'm just going to save this. So I'm going to save as. And let's see if we can get a JPEG out of this. This is black and white. And I'm just going to call this alpha. So I'm just going to call this stair underscore alpha, and then save it, and let's see if it saves our image out. It should. So for my stairs right here, I'm going to go to my stairs, and you'll notice there's an opacity mask. So I'm going to go here to bitmap, drag another bitmap out, and then there's my stairs. Let's see if it actually view my image. That's not what I wanted. So let's go back to Photoshop real quick, and let's turn off this layer, make sure no layer is showing. Alright, so let's make sure that no layer is showing, and I'm just going to copy all of this. And let's make a new layer over here, and then just paste it. There we go. That's what we want. We want white there. I'm going to have to make another layer to put black on. I'm going to hit Shift F5 to open up my fill menu. I'm just going to fill it with black. So that's kind of what I want. I'm going to merge these two. So I'm going to hit Control E and merge those two layers. So now I actually have, so I can delete this alpha channel because it didn't really do anything for us. So this is what I really want from my alpha. This is what I really wanted my alpha to be. So I'm just going to save this out. So save as. And we'll do it as a JPEG again. So now I have a JPEG alpha mask. So I have a mask to be able to use. So let's delete that. Get a new bitmap. and go and get our stairs JPEG. So on the opacity channel, I'm just going to attach this to the opacity channel for that particular shader. And actually, we did do it backwards. Well, I can cheat because I wasn't even thinking right now. So you can see the doctor does make mistakes. So I can cheat. So here inside of Max, I can actually flip this. I can invert this image. So I just double click on the bitmap itself and I'll just say invert. And let's make sure, let's reload this and make sure it's actually gonna, and that should have given me the inverse of this. Yeah, it's working. It's showing up right there. Why is it not showing up here? It's interesting. So there's my box. And let's kind of move here. Let's move over here. Let's look at this and see what's going on. It's working right. Let's look at our shader. Look at our maps, and there's our alpha map. So that's really weird. Let's look at the output again. Look at this output, because I really need that to be, and I thought this was right. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know what's going on. And it looks like it's not working. That's really weird. So that's fine. My box and everything is in there. So I should be black right here and white everywhere else. But it looks like that my opacity just isn't working right. So it's knocking it out the other way. So that part's working. Maybe it's, let's go do this to our image. Let's go back to Photoshop really quick and actually invert our image ourselves and see if that's the issue. So I'm going to go in here and actually just inverse this myself and then save this as, and let's save it as a JPEG again. Sometimes some of the nodes inside of Max kind of, and there it goes. It works fine now. So now it's right. That's weird. That is very, very weird. Because now it starts working. And realistically, the inverse in here should have done what it said. It looks like it's not rendering the inverse somehow, which is awkward. And it's fine. You know, we still got it to come out the way that we want it to. And let's see, yeah, it still came out the way we want to. And well, sort of, kinda, because it shouldn't. I really only want it to do this stuff here. So either way, but I've got that. I should do a little bit of kind of feathering on this because it's kind of knocking out. It's kind of giving me a really weird fringe around this, and that's from the alpha channel. So that's a little off, but everything else seems to be working well. So I want to get this texture. So I'm going to come here to rendering, and I'm going to go and say render to texture. So in the render to texture function, just so I make sure this is wrapped around this the right way, and I have a set of UVs that are going to where this map's going to lay on this, because right now kind of what's happening is that this is being mapped from the camera, but I want to make sure that I have actual UVs, well not actually UVs, but actual the texture map that is going to conform to my objects once I leave Max. Because right now inside of Max all this stuff works perfect, but I need to make sure that I'm gonna have a texture that's going to be able to be used inside of Unreal, because we're going to be taking this into Unreal. So I want to make sure that this is actually laid out on a UV, on an actual UV layout, and not just the image itself. So what I can do inside of here, my render to texture, I've chosen capsule as the output path, so you can just change that by clicking on the 3 dots right here. And I'm gonna go in here and actually do 3D Max scanline, no advanced lighting, and load this up. And you'll see right now my torus is what's loaded. I'm gonna go in here and actually rename these things. So I'm gonna say capsule model, and this is gonna be capsule door. And I'm just naming things because, when you get a big scene, so when you get a really big scene, you want to be able to have the stuff and know what it is. And then wall. So I'm going to click on my capsule. And what I'm going to do, I've got my capsule selected. And I'm going to say mapping coordinates, use existing channel, because I already have my UVs laid out. I'm just going to add my diffuse map, and it's going to make me a diffuse map. So it's going to be capsule underscore model diffuse map dot TGA, and I'm going to do this at 2048. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say render. So you'll see now this renders me out an actual rendered version of this with my capsule and everything at the angle of my image, and everything should be hunky-dory because it's all from the angle of my image. So that's good. So I'm gonna do the same thing for my door. So let's come in here, and this is my capsule door. Make sure it's 2048. I'm gonna use the existing channel, nothing funky. And then let's go down here and let's render this. And you can see there's my door. That's rendered out. And let's do the same thing for my stairs. 2048, and then hit render. There are my stairs. Hopefully the alpha channel went with it. Let's actually just look. Looks like the alpha's with it. Looks like it does have an alpha with it. So that's great. So I did this. So let's do the wall. The wall is the last thing. So click on my wall and make sure this is 2048, and there's my map. And all these maps are being rendered out to the same folder that I chose in the beginning. So that's all good. And then render this. And there's that. So yay. So everything is out, everything's ready. So now that I've got everything ready, everything is already rendered out, I can close that down. And I am just going to select all of my, and I didn't do my actual little stand pieces here, but I'll do those later. So I just want to be able to show how to do this. So I'm going to grab my stairs, hold control and click on my wall, hold control still, click on my capsule, and then also click on my door. So those are the pieces that I had that I projected stuff onto. And I'm just going to go here to the Max menu, and I'm going to say export, but I'm going to export selected. And by exporting selected, I'm going to put this to the desktop into my folder, and I'm just going to overwrite this and just say save. And it already says it exists. That's fine. I'm just going to do yes. So inside of my